easiest one so far. I don't even think we'll be more than 10 minutes unless you guys have any questions. Okay, recording's on, and we're going to go to Master Files Corporation, and we're going to hit Modify, and today we're going to talk about the Corp Info-1 tab. There's not much on here, and we rarely use this, so I'll try not to go into too much detail. Yeah, I think it'll probably be pretty simple. So up here, the foreign currency dialog box, what this does is it enables you to set your site based on what your currency is, your company currency. So if your company is based in Iran or Iraq, I guess, and your currency is the Iraqi dinar, then you can go ahead and pull this in. I don't even know, I think it's DNR or DIN. I don't know what it is, but you can pull your currency in here. And okay, look at that. I picked the right one, Indian rupee. It'll autofill in here. You can't add it manually. All of the currencies are theoretically, they're in here. And then you can add your own currency signal. Some of these have currency signals. So if I pick the euro, I don't think that's their currency symbol, but you can just type it right in here. If it's pound, you know, or dollar sign, type whatever it is in here. Now, what that does is it enables you to have all of your POs printed in your currency. Okay, and that's it. Nothing else. It doesn't convert anything in any other way when it comes to like languages or anything like that. It's just the currency being displayed on your PO in your primary currency. Okay. Now you can also set currency in the vendor file. So if your primary currency is English, then you don't have to do anything here. That's the default in EPMX. But I mean, if your primary currency is the US dollar, there's nothing you have to do. But if you have a vendor in India, then you can go into that vendor file and you can set their currency so that their documents show up in their currency. And there's some currency conversions that you can do that are part of another course. I mean, another training session. So, so on to the export options. We rarely use this. I came across one customer who used this, and they did it on their own. And it was a disaster because they literally deleted everything that was in their site. Everything that they exported out, they deleted. So I never recommend this to customers. I simply tell them to pull reports. They can get anything they need by pulling reports. And when their database gets too large, like we've got Fairfield Properties that has been with us for a long time, and Aiden, you may have spoken with them in the past, but they had a huge database, like, I don't know, many years, like 10 plus, maybe even 19 years. And their system was going really slow. So we can archive those POs so that you can still go in and access them to run reports or to just look at. And I think there's a report you can run, but it removes everything from your primary site and stores it someplace else so that it speeds your site up, so your site doesn't run so slow. So, you know, short answer, can you export? Yes, you can export a couple different ways. You can set this and have everything exported. If you set it to export, it will write it to an export file, and then you go into utilities and you run the exports and you pull it, or you pull reports. The reports work just as fine, so there really isn't any need to use this. RFQ options. This is just setting up RFQ. The unit price is the price that sits in the material file. The material file is supposed to start out with your standard unit price. So every time you create a PO, if that price is different, EPMX will update that unit price in the master files if you configure it to do that. When you're working with RFQs, you can configure it to pull the unit price in when you're pulling items in to get quotes on. Okay, this other option is requisition or default as user. That just means whoever logs in is the default user and you can't change it. So you can't create documents for other people or in other people's names. So those are simple enough, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So the material defaults, what this means is when you're creating a PO or a requisition, these items, if they're in the material file, will pull in by default. So you guys have seen this. When you go to a requisition and you pull in a requisition item down here, it'll pull in the unit of measure and the unit price for you.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so that's what that means. That's not something that changes. It's set that way by default, and we never change that.
Mhm.
Okay, so unit of measure, unit price, quantity. If you have an economic order quantity set, some companies order supplies in very specific increments based on the pricing that their vendor provides them with. So if it's in their best interest to always order, their best economic interest to always order 10 and never order less, then you want to set an economic order quantity of 10. And if you have that 10 set in the material file, every time you create a document, that 10 will come in. And that's what this,
Okay.
that's the quantity part of it that pulls into the,
Mhm.
So again, it's configurable. So you might have thought based on your experience that it just happens that way. But most clients are set up this way. But if a scenario comes up where, well, can we enter our own unit of measure? Yes, you can. We can configure that. Now, I'm going to skip over here. I'm going to come back to item amount ranges for approval. And I'm going to skip over to GL account hierarchy levels. So when customers enter when they pull their GL account codes into EPMX, 99.9% of the time, we can do it all in one string. But a lot of times you'll be on the phone with a customer and you'll hear people say, well, we have a cost center. We have, cost units, or they all have a different word for it, right? Okay, that's fine. Then we'll pull in your GL account codes as one string, and then we'll use the job code field for your cost centers. And then we'll use the projects for, departments or whatever they have. Well, sometimes you have customers who can't do that. And when I say sometimes, I mean hardly ever. We don't use this anymore. I thought for the first time last, when Columbia Cedar came in, that I was going to have to use it for them, but it turned out that I didn't. So in 5 years of being here, I've never set up levels. But you can set up levels where they choose one part of a GL account code at a time. Okay, so instead of pulling in a GL account code here, let's just look at the requisitions. Instead of coming here and pulling in a GL account code, you're going to click on this down arrow, and it's going to say level 1, level 2, level 3. And you're going to pull in each one separately. Okay? Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't like it because it's inefficient and it is massive to set up. So I always, if I can, and I've been successful in every case so far, I redirect people. I go straight to importing their GL account codes in one string and using the job codes and the projects for other ways that they need to identify spending. Okay, but if it's necessary, the option is available. Okay, so the item amount ranges for approval. To me, this is a weird place for it, but just so you understand what it is, in the requisitions, we have several different types of approvals. Now, you should be aware that we have more options in the requisitions module. Notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 approval types in the requisitions module, and in PO approvals, we only have 3. So when you're talking to customers, and I had this problem with sales with Ben, and it was a huge problem. One of his first sales, veterans, they wanted to only buy the purchasing module, but they wanted to use one of the approval methods in the requisitions, which is item approval rank. Well, that option is not available if you go to PO approvals. It's not here. So if they want to approve by item based on what the item is, they have to purchase the requisitions module. And you'll probably have to hear this several times, before it really sticks. But this is one of the reasons why it's important to understand really what's in here and how it works together. So you can actually make a sale and sell them the wrong thing based on some things that you just didn't even know. Oh, I didn't know that wasn't available in the PO module. And then we have to fix it. It's not,
Right.
it's just a little stressful. So one of the options in requisitions is use item amount ranges. Okay, so what that means is I've got a material file of 100 items. Every item has a standard unit price, which we talked about, and that unit price is going to depend, and the quantity is going to depend on how many approvers are needed. Okay, so then what we would do is we would come here and we would set up our approval amount hierarchy. So let's say anything from 0 to 500 is 1. So any requisition that's from 500 and well, I guess I should say 5. Let's see, that did that automatically. We'll leave that at 500 to 1500 is approver number 2. Anything from 1500 to 5000, right? And then we would go all the way up to 13 nines. That's as high as EPMX goes, which is plenty. It's more than enough for all of our customers. So you could set 3 of these levels, or you could set 5, however many you need. We could shorten these, and we can do 0 to 50,000, and then we can do 50,000 to 13 nines, and we can get rid of the rest of these. So now we only have, now we only have 2. So for every item that's purchased, every document that's created, I should say, anything from 0 to 50,000 goes to approver 1. Anything from 50,000 to 13 nines goes to approver 2. And then it's released. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and I think this is tied, and I'm saying I think because I haven't had anyone use this either, but I think this is tied to the document, and I think we would have to set approvals at requisition total if we used that approval method. So they would lose the ability to approve at the line item level, which may or may not matter to somebody, but it's important to know that. Now I want to show you something. I don't know if you guys realize this, but I'm on Corp Info-1 tab, and right up here is the help menu. When I click on help docs, it gives me the details for the page that I'm on. Did you guys know that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're going through EPMX and looking things, if you have a question, you can just go to whatever page you want to go to and then take a look at help. Now help is a lot better than it used to be. It really before was useless until Jeannie started doing the work that she's been doing on it. But there's still always going to be times when you need help. We still, Aiden, like I said to you the other day, I had a 2-hour call with Jeannie just brainstorming, trying to figure out how we could solve a problem. None of us developed the software 30 years ago, right? We have no idea all of the changes that have been made and how they tie in. So a lot of times before we can answer a customer, we have to say, let me look into that. And then we have to go do some testing and some brainstorming.
Right.
All right, so that's it for the Corp Info-1 tab. Do you guys have any questions?
Tammy, so it's safe to say that, we come across prospects saying that, okay, we don't have one single GL account. We have different cost centers or different entities, and they use their own GL accounts. So that's when we could apply this right side folder, the GL account hierarchy levels. It's safe to say that?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say here would be a better scenario. Let's say you're talking to a customer who has several data fields that they need to track, and you've already allocated the job codes to something else, and they need projects because they do projects. And then
Right.
they say, now we need to define our GL account codes separately. You might want
Okay.
to consider GL account code levels, but in every scenario so far, I have been able to get them to import their GL account codes in one string. So what you might say to them is you might deter them from this thought. If they say, can we do levels? You might say, well, you can, but we can import all of the
Right.
GL account codes in one string. And you could also tell them, like if you get into a discussion like that, where you know it's either or, you can say, that's something that's determined when we do your business assessment after you sign our contract with us, but we can do it either way based on the outcome of your business assessment.
Got it. Okay.
Right? That way
And
you cover yourself.
right. Right. Yeah, that's clear. And Tammy, also we can do batch uploads of items, materials in EPMX, right?
Say that again.
Can we do a batch upload of material files? I mean, if they have like a massive list of file of items that they want to kind of push into EPMX. So
Yeah.
like during implementation, that's the string that you're talking about, right? I just wanted to get the terminology correct.
Yeah, so let me see if I have a file. I'll show you what it looks like. I've got
Yeah, just an example, maybe. Yeah.
let's see, implementations. Who am I working with right now? I just had it in my head. Where is it? I've got so many right here. Okay. Integrated Health. Nope, they did not provide theirs. Midwest Scrap, Pure Dental Brands. Let's see. Pure Dental Brands. Actually, no, because their accounting team wouldn't provide them. So hang on. I know I've got one here. Columbia Cedar. GL codes. Okay. GL code levels versus string. Here we go. Okay. So oftentimes the way customers will say it is they'll say, well, I have our GL account codes are broken down by, right, 580 equals the department, or let's see, 580 is the department. 2 is the GL account code. And 010 is the actual expense, right? So like office supplies. Okay. So they'll say,
Right.
well, we have levels and that's how it is. And then we would say, okay, that's fine. Let's just import them 580-2-010. And then we list all of them here. See how he's only got 40. That's not many. He's got all of his here. He's got his departments 580, 545, 579. And so this is what I mean by one string. We just, this is the template I used. Literally, that's all I
Right.
have to plug in. And then what happens is when we go to his site, which I'll show you, I'm not using his live site. They have multi-factor authentication turned on, and that is the biggest pain in my butt I have ever seen. So I don't know if you guys have played with that in EPMX yet, but having to wait for an email every single time you log in is really not fun. So Columbia Cedar, when they go into select a GL account code, they're going to see exactly that string that was in the template, the 580-2- and if they don't know the GL account code, you probably already know that. Oh, come on. All right, it's even messing with me in my test system, so hang on. Let's cancel, see if our secret key is there. Yes, it is. Okay. So requisitions. Oh, I can't add. Oh, with the secret key, I can't do anything. See, this multi-factor thing is really frustrating. Okay, so they're going to see literally down here, they're going to see 580-2-010, and they're going to select that one. They can start.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Or they can hit the magnifying glass and they can search.
Yeah.
Using a keyword.
Right. Yeah. When we create a requisition, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So really, this is not really a viable option.
Yeah, this is avoidable. Yeah.
Yeah. In every scenario, now the only time that really somebody would determine whether or not you use levels or you don't use levels is when they come to me with the business assessment and we go into great detail about their processes, their procedures, how accounting is going to be pulling data and things like that. But you guys just need to know that you can do it either way.
Got it. Perfect. This was pretty helpful, Tammy. That gave me a good idea about what's their concern regarding whether we can use those strings, upload and populate all that GL account into EPMX. That's very helpful. And once you get to see it, makes a big difference.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, Aiden?
Well, I had one. It might be. I mean, it's just related to the ranges for approval. Actually, I have a couple of questions here. Number one is there might be instances wherein they may not require approval for a particular set of range. So it may not necessarily start with 0 all the time, right? We could begin with having an approval system in place only from say $5,000 and above. So in that case, the first range can be from 5,000 to whatever value they ask us to feed in. It may not necessarily start from 0 always, correct?
Well, it has to start from 0, or anything below 0, EPMX won't know what to do with it. But there's another way around that, and that is in the employee file, where we can give them a purchase limit, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we would set the parameters, and then we would come over here to approval settings, and if they don't need any approval for anything up to 5,000, then we would put 5,000 here.
Oh, okay.
And that means they can just create the documents and order everything themselves without getting any approvals.
Okay, perfect.
Most people get a 0 purchase limit, but sometimes companies will let everybody purchase up to, like $100 without getting approval.
Right.
Something like that.
Right. Okay.
That's how we would get around that. Because if they have a purchase limit, then it automatically bypasses the approval process for anything up to that purchase limit.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
And the second one I had, again related to approvals itself, is now are there instances, because I'm just trying to figure out, are there instances wherein there is so when you're setting up these ranges, you're also setting up an individual who will be responsible for approving them. So can I have multiple approvers for a particular range? Like, for example, if it's between say 0 to 500, I may have just one approver, but if it's between 500 to 1,000, can I have multiple approvers there? Or is it for every range there is only one individual responsible for approving it?
Right. Well, okay. So when you ask that question, I have to look a little deeper. And the reason why is because you can only have one approver for the range. Okay. But you might have different employees who report to somebody different. So if you have a group of 5 people who report to Aiden and another group of 8 that report to Karan can be an approver for that same date range, that same value range as Aiden is. But it's assigned. But what you can't do is you can't say, oh, whoever approves it first for all of these people, And
Right.
can I push it to somebody else? No, those are things that you can't do.
So we do use this quite a lot during our conversations, wherein we talk about multi-level approvers, approval system. So I am referring to the range there and not the number of individuals responsible for approving. Is that correct?
Say that again.
So we do use this terminology a few times, that we